السلام عليكم.
Salam. I was busy with the other stuff, so I will make you host. Inshallah, you can share the screen now. Okay. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به. واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. آمين. وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. Inshallah, today we'll be continuing the 11th word. And as you can see, it's a little different on my screen today because I'm going to be showing the reading along with my personal notes. So you'll find that it's not just the reading, but we're continuing our discussion from page 139 from the words. And I will start reading. And as usual, if you want us to stop at any point, if you have any questions or any reflections you want to share, let me know. Bismillah. O my soul and my friend, come to your senses. Do not spend the capital and potentialities of your life on pleasures of the flesh and this fleeting life, like an animal or even lower. Otherwise, although you are 50 times superior with regard to capital than the highest animal, you will fall 50 times lower than the lowest. Again, we're continuing our discussion on the idea of, or around the question, why am I given what I'm given? Why am I given all these senses and why am I given all these feelings? And what is one way to use them? So today, here we're starting with the phrase, "Oh, my soul and my friend, come to your senses." And I felt like, okay, I needed to stop at that, come to your senses. The author is suggesting to come to my senses. This implies that I'm given the free will to direct my senses in whatever way I wish. However, I was told that to be less of an animal and to actualize my humanness, I need to disconnect from my selfish concerns. Just to give context, like whenever we're, asking the question of, how can I be more of a human? How can I be better? How can I be not pursuing the worldly concerns, what should I do? Normally it's, okay, you know what? The first thing, you need to disconnect from your selfish concerns. This is not important. Just put it all aside. But here it's saying, no, you need to connect to your senses truthfully and realize that they are given to me for a more meaningful purpose. By acknowledging that their owner must have a purpose and I should use them to fulfill his purpose by learning from him. So the reality is this: I'm given senses. Now, what am I to do with them? The fact that I realize that they are given is one step towards saying that they must have a purpose or that they must have an owner. And then slowly we're gonna slowly we're gonna get to the next step, which is to, okay, now I need to use these senses to actually learn about my creator or acknowledge the owner through them. So here the senses are basically, are given even more meaning or a different, or it's given a meaningful purpose. I see a hand, and then go ahead, Farah.
Thank you for your starting thoughts, and I'm just building on what you have started and initiated. So coming to your senses, I also understand it similarly in the way that it's a command that the author is bringing. So it's meant to bring attention to become aware of the human faculties that we have and use them to assess our reality as it is. This is to say that it is saying that your faculties of intellect, your emotions, your five senses combined, your feelings, all the different aspects or faculties that we associate with, our being, that these are in a way directly compatible or fitting. They are, in a way, they're keys to things that, or locks, or doors that exist in reality around you. So use those senses in the way that it is compatible with the reality around you, and observe reality and your being as it is. And I think you brought this point up of not bringing in ideas that may bias this, let's say, relationship. So coming to your senses is stand still, understand what your faculties want, what you need in their createdness, and then apply them in their created nature with what is compatible and what they are best for. So in a way, an example comes to mind is tools, right? So a hammer is not good for taking out a screw, but it is good for putting in a nail. So similarly, I think the call here is to really assess yourself and assess the reality and see how they're supposed to fit together.
Thank you. Thank you very much for bringing these two together, the senses, and sort of making them more compatible to a reality. So in a way, it's as if what I heard you saying, okay, your senses is something you can sort of direct or use either to make it compatible to your reality, or basically you completely ignore that they need to be compatible to a reality. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. I see another hand up. Inaba and Abdullah, go ahead. I can't hear you. I see your mic is unmuted, but I cannot hear you. Oh, your mic is not working. Okay. Would you like to type, or would you like to, like, I don't know, rejoin really quickly and see if it works? I appreciate you stopping here, because usually people pass over come to your senses as a scolding for being illogical. Okay.
Partially true if you don't take notes of yourself, as Farah explained. It's not really an appropriate way of doing for a human being. So it means scolding for being illogical. Yeah, it means we are being illogical if we don't really realize our reality, as you and Farah explained. It made me laugh. Thank you, Nada.
Thank you. Now I see it differently. Inaba's continuing on her comment. Okay, now I see it differently. I can also see it as a joyous invitation to connect to my senses in a way that brings meaning, something practical that has come to me recently. I see. Yeah, I definitely agree. The author is giving a completely like a different understanding to the word senses. Again, it's not just, he's using the word senses in its broadest sense, or broadest understanding. I keep on noticing that I love compassion and kindness in all circumstances and things. Once it became obvious to me that all objects must be created, I asked, why shouldn't those things which are invisible, like values, be created? Oh, okay. So as soon as you notice that the things you see, the objects must be created, also the non-objects must be created. Mm-hmm. And of course, if you use your senses to make these conclusions or to make these observations, then you're definitely giving your senses or experiencing your senses in a completely different way.
Now, existence doesn't consist of only physical existence. Our feelings also existence. Qualities of the beings are existence. For example, meaning in the existence of other beings, apart from their physical being, is also existence. They are all created. That's how I can understand the word, as Farah said. So you also emphasized on it, Radwa. If I understand myself, I will understand the universe accordingly. I turned my mic off. It means I'm done.
All right, thanks. Right, and the comment in the chat box continues to say, so now I'm exploring what turning my attention to these values and feelings, which are invisible, might mean in regards to my connection to their creator. Sorry, I have to reread that. So now I'm exploring what turning my attention to these values and feelings, which are invisible, might mean in regards to my connection to their creator and my creator and the interconnection between all this creation. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you very much. Okay. I think we are ready to move on. If I'm wrong, please feel free to raise your hand at any point. Oh, someone is saying salam alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. Go ahead. All right. Moving on. Oh, my heedless soul, if you want to understand to a degree both the aim of your life and its nature, and the form of your life, and the true meaning of your life and its perfect happiness, then look. So we're about to read, I think it was maybe 8 points or 9 matters. The author says it, 9 matters concerning the aim of your life and the nature of it, the form of your life and the true meaning of your life and its perfect happiness. So the author is slowly going to introduce to us of how can we make this life, or how can I perceive that my life is actually meaningful and purposeful, and how can I experience its perfection? So let's start. The first matter is this: to weigh up the scales of the senses, put in your being the bounties stored up in the treasuries of divine mercy, and to offer universal thanks. I'll read it one more time just because it has a lot of concepts in one long sentence. To weigh up on the scales of the senses, put in your being. Okay, so I have given senses and I can use these scales, and they are given scales. And I can use these scales to weigh or to understand the weight of the bounties stored up in the treasuries of divine mercy. Bounties stored up in the treasuries of divine mercy. So it's not, I'm not going to be exposed to all the bounties. No, my senses can actually help me point to the bounties stored up. All right, let's see what that can mean. And then to offer universal thanks. And then, okay, now you know, you can now offer universal thanks. So let me see what I wrote in my notes here. So to assign meaning to my given senses, I can use them as scales to weigh the giver's qualities, to confirm infinite mercy and offer thanks. Go ahead, Farah.
My thoughts might be very raw because I'm getting excited as I read this stuff. And thank you for your notes also, they're very helpful. So one example that came to my mind as I was thinking about the connection of coming to your senses, and then the author saying that that somehow that is connected to figuring out or getting to this idea of perfect happiness, which I think is an ideal for all sorts of human beings, regardless of their worldview. They say they want happiness. So, but in this method, we talked about being aware of the nature of our senses, and in that same line of thinking, we would then become aware of the nature of our existence. So the way, as Brother Lee was saying, the way we look at ourselves is the way we'll also look at the world and understand our life in that context. So one example that came to my mind was that, for example, when we have like a room, let's say a dark room, or maybe this example will work for any electronic object, where we turn it on, right? And slowly different parts of it start to turn on. And once, let's say we take a dark room with like different corners, it's only when one by one we turn on the different lights in that specific space, in that specific configuration, that things start to appear in the way that they exist. And so turning on our senses is turning them on as in to see them in the way that they are created, without biases, but just sort of evaluating them on the basis in which they exist, starts to show us, or in light of those, we start to see what is the what was hidden to us before, which in this case is the meaning of existence. And I'm copying this answer from earlier discussions, but divine mercy being reference to the meaning in existence. So if man's biggest need, right, is it food? Is it sustenance? Is it love? Is it all of these things? Yes, they are levels of mercy, but the existential need, or the existential need, and then hence the existential answer in the form of divine mercy, is meaning in creation. And so it is when, perhaps when we weigh up this on the scales of the senses, when we use them in accordance with their capacities, our feelings in the way that there should be, our intellect the way that it should be, in that perfect balance of things, of our faculties, which we have to experience in order to understand what the relationship between them is, we will see the manifest, or we will see or become aware and understand, all of these words apply, the meaning that is being conveyed or is manifested in the reality around us, and offer thanks in the sense that if that is my biggest need, then as soon as I become aware of its fulfillment, I am grateful that my biggest need is being fulfilled instantaneously.
Thank you for that reflection. I really, really appreciate you assigning or reminding us of how our existential need of meaning is directly related to mercy. Yeah, thank you for that. Anyone else wants to add anything before we move on? There is a comment. When it says perfect happiness, how should we understand it? Is it possible to experience, I'm not sure what that word is, within this life? Is life itself perfect happiness? Are we going?
Jannah.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Is it possible to experience Jannah within this life? Okay. Is life itself perfect happiness? Are we going to understand after studying all 9 matters, as the text says? It will be brought up again, what happiness, or like, I think after reading the 9 matters, we will get an idea of what perfect happiness is. And then for myself, I normally try to think of that the word happiness here is probably not the word happiness used in other contexts. So it's not like, and it's perfect. I don't assume that the author is gonna like ever show us how like, how, let's see, like, so usually happiness is portrayed as having everything, where the author is really showing or trying to suggest that, okay, this is not what you need. Perhaps building on what Farah is saying, okay, this is, if you want to see meaning, if you want to actually meet your existential need and see how it is being fulfilled for you, like almost 24/7, not almost, but 24/7, literally, then you should arrive, then naturally it is perfect happiness. But I don't know. Let's figure it out. Let's figure it out along. I'll keep the question in mind, and everyone else also, if you have any thoughts about that, and then we'll see through the 9 matters. Go ahead. I see a hand. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. You know, one thing that attracted my attention here too, at least in this first aim or first point or first matter, is that the senses that we refer to here, at least the way we've been emphasizing is, you know, my human senses, my sense for, or my need for, you know, meaning, my need for mercy, my need for eternal life, but not just, I guess, all encompassing of what the human being is made of. And so when it says, just rereading it again, to weigh up on the scales of the senses, put in your being the bounty stored up in the treasuries of divine mercy. I also feel like there's an implication or indication of, you know, this physical sort of interaction that is required within the universe that I need to experience so that I can also extract, or I can confirm the meaning that I experience, or the divine mercy in those experiences. So I guess this kind of secondary emphasis, if you will, on the need for also, you know, of course, the human being is not just body and material and atom, but I do need to necessarily experience the universe, because that's the vehicle that I'm given in this manner, so that I can, with my other human senses that go beyond the material or physical aspect of things, then utilizing those bounties and those physical experiences confirm that the mercy in that event as looking to my creator, or in other words, looking to meaningfulness as coming from an absolute source of existence, as not being created meaninglessly for me. Just some initial thoughts.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. I also see a comment here. So it says, as I'm expecting the hereafter, my life cannot simply mean when this body is functioning. I would never find contentment until I saw for sure that my existence is something beyond this body, and I get to meet and be intimately close with whoever put me here and must have made all this for me. This story will not be over with fulfillment of contentment until I know why was I here in the first place. Thanks. Thank you everyone for sharing your thoughts and reflections. Go ahead, Farah.
I was a bit drawn by Agabe's, I guess, question, and maybe even an invitation to ask ourselves, what is it that we mean by perfect happiness? And at this moment, when we're just beginning with the 9 steps, and perhaps I haven't read through the 9 steps yet, so maybe it becomes clear, but I thought it might still be a fruitful exercise to ask ourselves, like, okay, when we do think about the word happiness or perfect happiness, what is it that we have in mind at this moment as a starting point? And just in the exercise of having a working definition that may change, will change, what came to my mind was that in my effort, in my journey in life of defining it, or seeking its sort of, true nature through applying my senses, my faculties to understand what it is and to decipher what it is and uncover its meanings. My definition, or let's say experience of happiness, will depend or is limited to how well I cultivate those abilities. So let's say as a child, I was happy with a piece of ice cream or whatever, right? And as my, I grew, I started to get a different sense of the world. Now my definition of happiness is different. It was like, okay, it might be in a job or in some sort of success and some sort of knowledge. But those are, again, examples that are depending on just using our senses in a superficial sense, right? But when we understand our human nature or our created nature in terms of its, again, using the word existential, but in its meaning realm, then the definition of happiness will mirror this new understanding and will represent or be a direct result of how well I cultivate these faculties. And so at the end, I guess, the perfect happiness, or this idea of a perfect happiness, becomes two things for me. One is a result of how much I cultivate my abilities. And so it might always be sort of a changing manifestation for me in my life of what it is. But two, it is also finding a source of comfort or security in knowing that, or in confirming my conclusions. So whatever that I conclude as a result of applying my abilities to my reality, when I find that confirmation or that full cycle that I think Anaba is pointing out to, some way of confirming that this is in fact makes sense in more than just in my thought, but perhaps in my being, in my physical experience, in all realms of my existence. I think that process of confirmation is also part of what I understand from what perfect happiness could be. So I'm just sort of sharing in a group my starting definition and going to look at together how this will change.
Thank you. I think it's an excellent suggestion. And I was silently doing it as you were speaking. Thank you for that. I see another comment. Okay, someone is also sharing their understanding of happiness. Happiness, which is probably better translated as contentment. All of my needs would be met. Needs like safety, meaning, and love. I would have assurance that what I love will not be robbed from me. Then nightmares would become silly things that I could even laugh about in gratitude that they were never true. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you very much. I like the diversity of understanding of happiness. Thank you. Okay, I will attempt to move on, but if anybody wants to share anything, go ahead. Okay. All right, so the second is to open with the keys of the faculties placed in your nature, the hidden treasuries of the sacred divine names. I think we already used the word keys earlier. I think Farah, you used it as well when you were talking about senses. So here it is again. So to open with the keys of the faculties placed in your nature, the hidden treasuries of the sacred divine names. So my notes are, if I don't use the keys of my faculties, I will not know of the divine qualities. I have to confirm the following to myself. I am given the capacity to know my Lord. I can use this capacity as much as I need. And when I do, I will learn about my Creator's divine knowledge. And absoluteness. I think I meant that. When I don't, I would be blind to the names. So again, the author is almost putting me in a reality check. Wake up, you have faculties, you are also given the keys, and you are given the capacity to open the keys. And only when you do, then you will be able to confirm the hidden, or you'll be able to see what was not obvious to you, the treasuries of the sacred divine names. That's my reading so far. Any thoughts or reflections here, or how do you think this would tie into, perfect happiness, or yeah, the aim of life, or the three things that we're trying to sort of make sense of? Okay, maybe the next one. All right, the third matter, it's to consciously display and make known through your life, in the view of the creatures in this exhibition of the world, the wondrous arts and subtle manifestations which the divine names have attached to you. To consciously display and make known through your life. So I'm gonna use my life, my given life, to become a conscious display of the divine names. If you're already reading my notes, basically it's saying my given life can be a conscious reflection of divine names, opposed to a life of worldly or temporary concerns. So the reason I phrased the sentence this way is because I'm usually presented or given this understanding that, okay, it's either you pursue the world or you become a conscious reflection of divine names. So now I want to challenge my understanding a bit. Are these two suggestions the perfect opposites? Or what is easier, to sort of to align both, or focus on one and give up the other? Or can I not view them as perfect opposites? Can I use this world to become a way to learn about divine names? And I mean, thanks to all of your reflections and your thoughts, I think you kind of answered these questions. And I think the author is kind of also trying to avoid this understanding that these two things are opposites, that it's either the world or God. It's basically, no, you have to use the world as a means to know God.
Rudwa, I might just ask you and everyone to maybe expand on what we understand by names. When we say divine names, I know we may say qualities, but perhaps just expanding on it such that it becomes clearer, its connection to the topic right now.
Sure. Anyone? What's your initial thoughts when you think of divine names? I mean, I haven't thought about it before, but normally I just understand it as, okay, divine names. I would give it the same, or like give it the synonym of divine qualities. And normally when I think of the qualities, I think, okay, the infinite qualities of a creator that I'm slowly trying to figure out. So yeah, I guess the word divine names reflects to me I'm not sure if I can say this, but like the character of the creator, like who is he? Who is he really? Like, yes, it's a creator is someone who makes and designs and produces. But then how can I describe that creator? Go ahead, Brother.
I think this word is somehow goes back to either Greek or Latin origin, something gods. In general, in their mind, the gods were some very powerful being or beings in the sky or in the heavens, and they are controlling the world, sometimes according to Greek mythology, they're fighting. But what we understand divine now, practically speaking, in our daily language, something not of the nature of this universe, divine. Something is independently existing, not doesn't need or doesn't depend on something else for its existence. So we, in this class, I feel comfortable to use, and people must be familiar by now. Sure, they are absolute. Because there is no infinite, there is no absolute in this world. So we can easily say it is not of this world, than absolute, because the universe is not absolute. We know that it is. It needs to something else to exist. It's continuously changing, etc. So divine. Very simply, I understand divine names as absolute qualities, because although the word name is literal translation of the Quranic word ism or plural asma. Now everybody knows it, I think. So, but when you say name, translated as name, even in original Arabic, nowadays it is used in this way. We have to be careful that the Quran doesn't really use, it is, if you like, concepts from the vocabulary which is used by the human beings, but concepts I'm talking about. In principle, I know I am speaking a lot, but it needs to be understood. For example, name or names are, this word is used in the Quran for a specific matter. For example, Lahul Asma'ul Husna. Now, Asma means names. All the names belongs to God. What does it mean now? Divine qualities, not the names. But how can you translate it? People translate it as names. I don't blame them, because when you look up in a dictionary, you find a name means ism. The name, ism means name. Or, for example, nowadays people use in Arabic, ismi something. But the Quran is nothing to do with it. Unfortunately, some people take it the names of the objects. That's so ridiculous. What shall I do if I know this is called a house, this is called a pencil, this is called a computer, so on. But of course, it gains its meaning when it is attributed to an absolute being. So what is the absolute being? Absolute being must be one. Why Esma, plural, names then? His qualities must be mentioned. That's why when the Quran uses وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا, God taught names, all of them, to Adam. Adam, what does it mean now? But he taught me all the names. I mean, I don't know all the names in different languages. There are more than 170 different languages. How does he say that, my creator, I taught you names? So it is ridiculous. Or names of the objects. It is ridiculous. So what we understand, names of it means qualities of the absolute being is meant here. So God created human body out of clay and gave him the ability to acknowledge the qualities of its creator. So I usually use divine qualities rather than names, because names doesn't mean anything really in English now. Nothing to do with the Quranic term at all. So in principle, while we are reading the Quran and any reference to the Quran, we have to pay attention that the Quran uses its own vocabulary and loads on them its own concepts within the context of the whole message. So if we don't know the whole message of the Quran, the purpose of the Quran, Maqasid al-Quran, it is called, it's a special name, discipline. Maqasid al-Quran, to study the Maqasid al-Quran is a discipline. But unfortunately, nowadays, we don't have time to study this kind of things. So we don't really understand that the words, okay, even the daily language we use to come here, to go away, listen to me, this kind of language, when it is used, this daily practical languages in the Quran, we have to understand that we need to contextualize it. It means try to give a meaning within the context of the Quran. That means try to give meaning to this word within the purposes of the Quran, Maqasid al-Quran. So Maqasid al-Quran doesn't mean that God taught me the names of objects. Ridiculous. I mean, it can't be. So we have to understand the names, the word, or divine, this kind of languages within the context of the Quran. I would say manifestations which the qualities of the absolute being have attached to you. Now, it makes sense, but manifestations have attached to you. It means your creator's absolute qualities are manifested in your mirror of existence. Okay, inshallah, it is enough.
Thank you. I see a few comments. Let me go ahead and read them. So I'm guessing that these are responses to the question of what do we understand from the term divine names. So one comment is saying abilities, capacities, agency, and will. Another answer was For a long time, I understood divine names as a really nice description of the God out there. It was nice to know. Oh, well, I'm glad to hear God is nice. It was with revelation, and he taught Adam the names of all things, that I asked, wait, should I know, already be able to recognize something about his names? Then I was invited to understand names as something more personal to witness and connect to. Currently, they manifest to my awareness and witnessing qualities that I value. Thank you. And the last comment is, I experience a lot in my personal life that when I see, especially a cute baby, my love, mercy, enjoying of her can be qualities or names that reflect in my life. Thank you. Thank you, Farah, for the question. All right, let's study one more matter, or maybe two. The fourth matter is to proclaim your worship to the court of the Creator's dominicality verbally and through the tongue of your disposition. So to proclaim your worship, so your own personal worship, to the court of the Creator's dominicality verbally and through the tongue of your disposition. All right, my notes are saying, so to use your body to be in union with the rest of creation to acknowledge the Creator. So you're using your given body, your created body, to be in union with the rest of creation, to acknowledge. So you're not doing it just to pray 5 times a day and that's it. No, there's a purpose for even the prayer. It's to acknowledge the Creator, as though you're saying, God, I see you, or God, I am acknowledging you. And then another note is saying, okay, worship has to be consciously and physically practiced. So it's almost, again, I think we're slowly trying to see how all of the things I'm given, so senses, faculties, and body or tongue, can all be used consciously and physically in order to acknowledge the Creator, to know the Creator, to acknowledge the Creator, or to connect to the Creator as well. Anything here? Okay. So the fifth matter is, like on ceremonial occasions, a soldier wears all the decorations he has received from his king, and through appearing before him, displays the marks of his favor towards him. This is to consciously adorn yourself in the jewels of the subtle senses, which the manifestations of the divine names or / divine qualities or absolute qualities have given you, and to appear in the observant view of the pre-eternal witness. So when I first read this, I was like, wow, this is a lot. I'm not sure, should I get excited? Should I get scared? Should I be hesitant? What should I be doing here? But I feel like, but that was my premature thinking. And then through discussion, I'm reading it a little differently now. Now my question is, are you or me, we using the gifts given to you to appreciate them or to own them? So we're all given the gift of, let's say, showing mercy. Am I showing it to own it, to say I am merciful or I am compassionate? Or am I using it to appreciate how much it's given to me? So am I going, or am I showing this mercifulness as a way to tell God, I see what you've given me, I like what you've given me, and I'm now using it in your name? Or am I using it to, oh, I'm super merciful, I like it, it makes me feel good about myself, and I can have a good night's sleep now. I think I'm paying back to my, community or whatever through my compassion. So it's what way am I using here? So I think that's the question that the fifth matter is kind of challenging. Go ahead, Brother Adi.
The fifth subject, I think the purpose of our life, the meaning and purpose of our life here, from another perspective. Every subtitle refers to another perspective. Here, the metaphor of ceremonial occasion, is beautiful, but it may be misunderstood because the kings or were the commanders of the soldiers. What they want to see the obedience of the soldiers. So do you think God also needs that? No, he wants to see whether we are really appreciating him or disobeying him. So every soldier has to go through that. But this is not the case when we use it, when we use this analogy in our relationship with our Creator. We have to look at the matter from our perspective, always. We have to read the Quran from our perspective, always. The belief, submission, supplications, the prayers, all of them must be regarded and analyzed from our own side, not from God's side, because we are presenting ourselves to God. That's my duty. God has already created the universe. God has already created me too, and he has already demonstrated who he is. Now it is my turn, after being created and being conscious of my existence. It is my turn now. I have to present to him as my creator what my position is, what I think of myself, present to him. Now the soldier in the ceremonial occasion wears the decorations he has received from his king. It means I have to be aware that all the senses, including the body, but body compared to senses is a really very simple creature, but senses are amazing creatures. So we have to be aware that these senses are given to me by the, if you like, king of the universe, existence, is the creator, owner of the universe, owner of existence. That is one thing. Another thing is, and the soldier is demonstrating it to its commander or king here. It means I have to be proud of. I have to be, if you remember seeing any scenario of ceremony, this military ceremony, the soldiers, when they come closer to the king, they take another type of walking as a proud of themselves, but not themselves. I am proud of my king. He gave me all these decorations. He gave me all these qualities. Now, when is one point is I have to be proud of presenting my reality to my creator. It doesn't mean that egoistic, but I shouldn't be ashamed of being a creature created by the creator. No, I have to be proud of it. My creator is the one who is the Lord, the owner of the whole universe. I belong to him. I am proud of him because all these decorations are given to me by him. So that we have to keep in mind that we are always in the ceremonial occasion between me and my creator. Now, this is also important. For example, can a soldier pass by the king in the ceremony without really saluting the king? Do you understand? Paying respectful to the king, being respectful to the king. Did I make sense? Being respectful to the king. When they are walking in one way, when they come in front of the king, the ceremony, it's analogy, change. Their walking change. They start showing some signs of respect. They turn their face. That's what I know from my childhood. The soldiers used to go through in front of the commander in this way. They turn their face and salute them. Salute the king, salute the commander. We have to turn our face, as the Quran says. It means acknowledge that I am being respectful, and to my, in the example, king, it means to my creator, and I am proud of him. So we have to be proud of being a creature of the Lord of the universe. These are a way of communicating with the creator, worshiping actually, worshiping. So we will study even more, inshallah, next week. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we can, I think, stop here and then start from the 6th next week. If you can, go ahead.
Shall we stop now, inshallah, by saying a prayer? Inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين بحرمة سر سورة الفاتحة.